early in the draft process, I identified a wide receiver from Ole Miss as my favorite prospect to watch. It was pretty clear that De'Zhaun Stribling was the most Kyle Shanahan / Sean McVay wide receiver in the draft. Saw a couple of other names that were mentioned as one, and I didn't really see it. You can tell by these clips, just the areas that he's lining up, let alone the blocking. You're going to be able to see him running away from players in some of these clips, and what I would call NFL yak. So a lot of times when we're watching these college prospects, like they're running on air, they're going on screens, and when you don't have to really fight for a yak, that doesn't really translate. But on these clips, you can see, like on this play, getting 4 or 5 yards on a curl route on an underneath route is big time. When you can do plays like this, when you can turn a 8-yard gain into a 78-yard gain, like that is huge. And I think his overall speed is really going to change the dynamic of what the 49ers are able to do on offense, especially when it comes to sudden change of possession, trick plays. Like he was Ole Miss's go-to in that department, as well as the 2-minute drill. If you remember against the Eagles, like that, the 49ers had wide receivers on the field who couldn't even line up. And I'm going to show a few plays where Stribling in 2-minute situations was just lights out for Ole Miss. So there's a lot of reasons why I was very high on him, wide receiver 6. I'm going to show you why I was so high on him. And I'm going to also show some of the plays where, wasn't so much as great and the areas that he needs to work on. So I don't want this to come off as like a puff piece, but I didn't view him as a reach. So let's get into why I think De'Zhaun Stribling was the correct pick for the 49ers. Okay, so not all wide receiver play is sexy, right? Not every play is flashy. You're not going to be able to break the big one. The reason the 49ers struggled to break the big one last season is because their wide receivers could not block. They did not execute when they needed to. De'Zhaun Stribling, top of the screen here. So it's going to be a run to the left, and Stribling's an isolated receiver. His job is to essentially crack this safety. So watch how he blocks 2 people on this play. He's going to block the cornerback to the top of the screen again, right in front of him, right there. And then he sees the safety come down, and he does his job there. So I think, in my mind, that's another example of what the 49ers are getting. Somebody who not only understands the assignment, but he's going to get a 2-for-1 special like this. He knows his job isn't to block the corner, but if the corner's going to get in his face, he's not going to let him free. So the running back doesn't get touched here until about 6, 7, 8 yards down the field. How many times, how many exposures did McCaffrey have last year to this same thing? So not many would be my answer. So like in my mind, this is a plus play by Stribling. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do here is show back-to-back plays. So I just showed you him blocking a corner and a safety on the next play. On the very next play, same position, right? Top of the screen, isolated receiver. He is going to run a slant. It's very simple. Watch his release on this play. He has the cornerback hopping the other way. So 2024, I should preface that. This is 2024 when he had I don't want to say a more expanded role, but he was clearly Oklahoma State's go-to wideout. And I picked Kansas State because there are 2 NFL players in this secondary. One plays for the 49ers, the other's Jacob Parrish. But not only does he have big-time separation at the line, boom, 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 but just to have the cornerback hopping the other way is big time in my mind. So get the nice, crisp release, have tons of separation, and then you see the NFL yak there where his big body naturally is always going to fall forward, and then you add in the speed with that, and you can see why the 49ers were so excited to have him. So you have a wide receiver who can win in isolated situations. Last season, especially in the playoffs down the stretch, 49ers did not have players who could run away, not only from press coverage, but just in one-on-one situations. So another example of where Stribling should be able to really help the Niners offense. Okay, De'Zhaun Stribling, bottom of the screen. What I did notice, and I don't want to say it's an issue or one of his drawbacks, but it's a coachable mistake. So you can see when he's running these outbreaking or routes back to the ball, you can see his feet get outside of his frame. And whenever that's the case, like right here, you're going to lose your balance. You're going to lose your footing. So to me, this is a guy who's in a hurry to get his landmark because he knows he's going to get the ball, when in reality, he doesn't have to do that. He's 4.3 fast. He has plenty of time. He has more time than he knows he does, and that would be the coaching point. So, hey, man, get to your landmark, wherever that is, and once you get there, just 1-2 out of the break. Trust your speed. Trust that that's going to do the heavy lifting for you, and knowing that people are going to respect your speed, you'll be able to get out of your breaks within plenty of time. And if not, like we just showed on the previous play, you have the big hands, you have the big frame, so that frame should be able to protect you in any contested situations. But here, again, slow down, get to your landmark, get your feet underneath you, and then you can make your break. All right, so this is trips to the top of the screen here. Stribling is a number 2 wide receiver. This is a very Shanahan-like play. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to set up a pick play, and Stribling's going to run a screen, so watch it play out here. This seems like a yak opportunity, potential touchdown. So if this pass is out in front of him, look at all the space. The safety is really the only person who's going to, contest, runs these kind of concepts. So this is a play where Stribling should probably score at the very least. It's a foot race to the 10-yard line, but in what world is a safety who's running in the opposite direction going to be able to cut Stribling off here? It's nice to see him make the catch on a pass behind him, but this is why I don't take box scores seriously at all, because in reality, realistically, it's a 30-yard touchdown for Stribling, because I don't think the safety is going to be able to catch him. There's nobody. Maybe 41 coming from the bottom of the screen off his block is able to get there, but I don't see it. All right, so I showed a play where Stribling easily beat press. Here's a play where he gets hemmed up. So bottom of the screen now, he's the new number 1. He has press corner walking up to him, and he does the split release, and there he just instantly hung up. And he doesn't really try to evade or anything. He just tries to run through him and win with strength. Like, that's not going to happen realistically in the NFL. It doesn't happen in college level, on the college ranks. So what my coaching advice to Stribling here would be is, like, he does the split release, and that's just off the line where he basically stagnant stance right there. So instead of trying to muscle his way through the corner, he needs to be evasive, right? He needs to be loose up top and down low. He's only one. If you watch his head fake here, he uses a head fake, but his feet really aren't doing anything. Like, he has to be able to win with his feet, which he did in that previous clip easily. So everything needs to be married, right? Everything needs to be tied together. If he was going to take 1-2, 1-2-3, whatever it may be, there just needs to be more nuance, more wiggle at the top. And if that's not going to be the case, then he's going to have to really sell either one way or the other, the direction, and he does not do that, which is why he does not get off a jam here. So another coaching point and another bad play that I want to show from Stribling. That way it's not all sunshine and rainbows here to make it seem like, hey, he should have been a top 10 pick. No, there are definitely areas where he can work on. But there are plays where you're like, oh, that's why the 49ers took him. So we'll show that right here. Okay, so this is a sudden change. This is after a turnover. And most NFL, college, high school, whatever rank you are, they're going to try to do a big play, try to get you the defense on a big play right after there is a sudden change. And that's exactly what Oklahoma State does. So this is the play where Stribling clocked as the fastest player in college football in 2024. 22.3 miles per hour. Just insane. Those 49ers, their only ball carrier to top 20 miles an hour last season is no longer on the roster. That was D. Winters off the Colts interception. So for fun, 36 right there, turning his back, that's Marcus Siegel. So Siegel is the one trying to chase down Stribling on this play. Kind of funny they're teammates now, but I mean, the speed is obvious, and you can't ignore this kind of play because Shanahan is going to draw up these big plays. And last season, especially with Pearsall on the shelf, the 49ers really didn't have any kind of sudden change kind of receiver. So Ole Miss, especially this past season, time after time, whenever they wanted a big play, a chunk play, when Lane Kiffin is drawing up a play for Stribling, like that to me is notable. So here's Stribling to the bottom of the screen. He's the number 1 wide receiver. He's going to run a shallow route. There were so many exposures over the 2 years that I watched him where Stribling had no problem going over the middle just like this, knowing that he was going to take a lick. That's Parrish. That's the Bucs cornerback, and just wasn't bothered. And this isn't like a big hit by any means, but it's a play where you're defenseless. So when a player shows no fear of going over the middle and is able to hang on in defenseless situations like this, that is a sign of an NFL player who just isn't, he doesn't fear anything. And I think that matters, right? And that's probably part of the reason the 49ers were comfortable taking him over some other players who just, didn't either have that many exposures to going over the middle or they didn't have the same kind of size and frame that Stribling does to be able to hold on in those situations. I think the biggest difference that we're going to see between Stribling and Jauan Jennings is just the separation on these in-breaking routes. So last season, and I respect De'Zhaun Jennings. The fact that he made it this far in the NFL as a seventh router speaks volumes. But Stribling, by the way, top of the screen, running an in-breaker, running a dig route. But corners are not going to sit on his routes. Like, they have to respect that 4-3. And because of that, this is the kind of separation you get. That was not the case with Jennings. Teams dared Jennings to run by them. Like, the only way that he was really going to get that big explosive play was off a double move. So Stribling here, this is very transferable. It's translatable to what the 49ers do. And then, of course, you get him dragging defenders, which, you know, Kyle Shanahan had to love. So I think, again, you want to see Stribling being able to do 49ers things when you're watching this. And an in-breaking route, like, that's probably number one on the list. But you see him catch the ball away from his body, look to turn upfield right away, and then he's fighting till he can't anymore for extra yards. That is, again, another A-plus play in my mind by Stribling that really relates to what the 49ers can use and what they needed a year ago. Okay, so another area where Stribling's speed is really going to help the 49ers, it's not like on only big plays, but it's these free access throws. So bottom of the screen here, Stribling is going to just run a curl route. And because the safety, or because the cornerback knows, even if he plays flat-footed, he only takes like 2 steps, but that's a free 5-6 yards, and you notice how he holds on after the catch. What I like, though, is that it's almost built in. We know the near 6'3", 4'3" wide receiver is going to get respect from the cornerback. So being able to throw 5, 6, 7-yard throws on first down and get ahead of the chains and stay ahead of the chains, like, that's going to go a long way for the 49ers offense. Okay, so I didn't want to seem like I'm cherry picking, so I didn't show the last release where Stribling won cleanly off the line. Here, top of the screen, first down. So they just picked up a first down, so Ole Miss wants to take a shot down the field. And they are going to call on Stribling, top of the screen. Watch the cornerback. That is a sign. You can see watch his hip. Like, his left hip kind of locks, like right here. And then he's like, oh, shit. And when that happens, when we're even, we're leaving. Great ball by the QB. Fun player, by the way. But, again, if you have this kind of prospect on the outside, and even if it's Evans on one side and Stribling on the other, you know Stribling's going to get one-on-one coverage all the time. So the fact that you have this opportunity to win down the field, like, that is a very, very nice thing to have in your back pocket, especially with a quarterback like Brock Purdy who's willing to give his players chances like this down the field. So we'll watch it from the end zone angle. I think Stribling could have done a better job of staying on his line. So getting back to his line, I should say. So right there's not a lot of room for the quarterback to make the play, to give him an opportunity to make a play, I should say. But the fact that he's so open, like right there, like, that is NFL open. If you have a step, that's NFL open. So a really good play, route, I should say, or just speed from Stribling. So another thing I don't like getting caught up in is when they're only targeted. Watch the bottom of the screen here. Here's Stribling, and so he wins to the inside, and then he wins again at the top of his route. This, to me, is a first-round route. So look at that, separation at the top. Again, he's not targeted, so maybe to some people it doesn't count. But if we're watching the bottom of the screen here, and we know the wide receiver needs to get inside of the cornerback, right, to win inside. So instantly, he does that. He has the cornerback. But instead of veering too far inside, which I noticed some other wide receivers in this draft do, he stays on the numbers, gets vertical, and then breaks his route off at the top. And once he does that, look, the cornerback is, 3 yards away from him. So I'll run it back so you can see it. That is what you want from wide receivers. So again, no target, but to me, those plays count. Okay, first possession of the third quarter. Ole Miss is down 8. They need to move the ball. What are they going to do? They're going to throw a back shoulder to their best receiver. So free yards right here. Stribling wide receiver to the top of the screen. You'll see him off the line again, kind of freeze the cornerback and lock him up. You can see him stumble. Watch the cornerback stumble right there. Again, the sign that they really respect his athleticism. Quarterback has to get rid of it because the blitz is coming in hot, and Stribling just makes the back shoulder fade. Not something that the 49ers really had the option to throw last year. So having giant wide receivers is going to benefit Brock Purdy quite a bit. I'm thinking he's going to like his targets a lot more this year with guys like Evans and Stribling. So we'll watch it from the end zone angle again, just so you can see him hanging on after there's any potential contact, because that is what Stribling does, and that's why I had him so high as well, because you have to be able to win through contact in the NFL. Okay, so there's actually 3 plays in a row where Stribling's involved here. So he's just went in motion, and he's going to run a slide route. So he's going to sneak out of the backfield, and this is just going to be free yak, and it was for Ole Miss all season. I know Kyle Shanahan appreciates Stribling not running out of bounds there. So you always want to see a guy fight for extra yards. Too often, you're leaving yards on the field. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, that's just all scheme right there. Stribling doesn't really have to do anything. The fact that he bounces off the hit from the safety is a good sign as well, knowing that he can get yards after the catch. Okay, I remember telling Kyle Juszczyk a couple years ago, man, your job sucks. You have to do everything on every play, and there's really no time you can take a play off. So we just saw Stribling get the ball on a slide right out of the backfield. Very next play, look, he's lined up as a fullback, and he's going to be the lead blocker, like if the quarterback would have pulled it, of course. The fact that he's asked to do these kind of things. This is the playoffs, by the way. This is not a run-of-the-mill regular season game. They are leaning on Stribling quite a bit. So this is the play where Stribling is the lead blocker in the backfield. So 3 plays in a row where you can do 3 different things with number 1. So give him the ball, use him as a decoy, and then use him as a lead blocker. 3 plays in a row where there's no real opportunity for him to take a play off, but you can trust him to block a linebacker. It doesn't go well because the running back, I think, but the fact that you're able to do that with Stribling is a big deal. And then on the very next play, 3rd and short, you're going to give him a jet. Does it work? No. But again, we're talking about the process, not the results. So 3 plays in a row here where you're seeing Stribling just do so many different things that the 49ers weren't able to do last year. How many times did they run a jet last year? Probably not many. I would count single hand. I know it was under 10. So the fact that Stribling is a potential jet candidate with all the with all the speed that he brings to the table is another area that the 49ers were really lacking last season. All right, I showed the score. It's 34-34. There's 32 seconds left. Bottom of the screen, number 2 wide receiver, De'Zhaun Stribling. That's who they go to. Sorry. That's who, Jesus. Sorry about that. That's who Ole Miss goes to when they need to play. They went to their go-to wide receiver. He's in the slot here, and off the line, got him. And now, this should be a touchdown, right? Ball is a little to the inside. I understand. The quarterback's getting blitzed, needs to get rid of it, but has an opportunity to be a touchdown. But eventually, it ices them the game. So that's another thing you want to see, right? Not only is Stribling their go-to player, but he's old reliable. When they needed to play, they didn't draw up something for somebody else. It was always number 1, and I thought that is something you really want to see at the collegiate level, and not just some collegiate level, right? This is the playoffs, 2 SEC teams, so that matters. All right, last game we're going to go over. So bottom of the screen here, in this play, and there were a few plays against Miami where I thought, oh, this is perfect for Christian McCaffrey. A lot of times last season, because the field was so congested, because of the lack of speed, McCaffrey really didn't have an opportunity to do anything like this after the catch where he was in one-on-one situations. But with Stribling here, you notice he doesn't do anything, he doesn't need to do anything, just run the coverage off. But because he does it in a hurry, right? He's on time with everything. Notice how quickly he does get up the field. To me, that's going to create so much space for McCaffrey in the passing game, and that shouldn't be undersold because it was an issue last season. Okay, right after a sudden change, Stribling, top of the screen. Miami just had a missed field goal. Ole Miss calls up a back shoulder fade. So, again, there's the release, gets a step, and then that's a little head top right there. That's exactly what you want. So, even if he's not open, Stribling's going to have an opportunity to make plays because of his size. And if Brock Purdy, like Trinidad Chambliss, just gives him an opportunity, just puts the ball in an area where he can use his size and for him to come down like that, more often than not, Stribling's going to win that matchup, especially in one-on-one situations outside the number. So another sudden change, explosive play for Stribling. So these plays where Stribling had to read the defense kind of had him in a headlock. So he's at the top of the screen. It's just a spot route. So he needs to settle down and find a soft spot in the zone underneath. So watch the top of the screen. To me, he reads this wrong, and if this were to be an interception, I would grade this on the wide receiver, not the quarterback. Well, I'll just let it play through here. So yeah, clearly that's on him. So what he needs to do is he's reading the safety walking down. he thinks the safety is going to settle right where he is right now, when in reality, the corner, once the corner bells, or once he has an impression that the corner opens up and bells like that, he needs to understand that he can come in a little inside the safety, because the safety is going to come down to where the running back, not the running back, the wide receiver behind Stribling right now is in the flat. So it's like he doesn't have much time to make this decision, but that's the NFL. That's football, right? Everything needs to be processed just 5 times faster than what you're used to if you're going to succeed. So this is another area where I think Stribling needs to work on, is finding soft spots and just reading coverages. There are examples of him doing what he's supposed to, but this is a disaster in the playoff semifinals, and that you just can't have. So again, just read the coverage right. Probably has, again, more time to go inside of the safety and read the coverage, especially with the way that everybody's rotating. I thought he could have, again, just read it right, took a couple more steps inside, waited till that safety coming down cleared him, and then him and the QB would have had an easy pitch and catch. Okay, so another example of back-to-back plays. Top of the screen, Stribling, he doesn't move his feet. I talked about off the line of scrimmage, everything needs to be married, everything needs to be in unison, and that is not the case. That was not the case, I should say, on this route. So watch the cloud CB. So it's clear that based on the cornerback, like what he does off the line, like he expects to have help up top. That's a very aggressive jam. So his feet get kind of stuck in place. Notice how he only takes like 1 or 2 steps the entire time, and is struggling to get that second foot down. He's big and fast enough where 1, 2, like there needs to be 2 feet in the ground. And again, like move, right? Give the illusion that you're going inside, even though we all know that it's a must outside release. But he just needs to be better and quicker, more efficient, I would say, off the line here, so plays like this don't show up at the pro level. Okay, so coming back to the very next play. This time, Stribling is the number 3 wide receiver, so he's in the slot right there, closest to the line of scrimmage. It's going to be another example of him against zone coverage, and the last time, I didn't think that he allowed the safety in that situation to get wide. Here, he does let the linebacker get wide and gets inside of him. So again, no target, but I think he does a better job of doing his job, of doing what he's supposed to. Gets to his landmark on the over the ball route, but this time he doesn't set up his quarterback. This time he gets across that defender's face and he gets to his landmark. So let's watch it from the end zone angle. So he appears on our screen. The fact that the linebacker hopped inside was another sign in my mind that Stribling was right on this play. So we'll get there eventually. There he goes. 31 jumps back inside. And yeah, it looks like Stribling. A much better job there against zone. Okay, so next series, top of the screen, Stribling, he's going to run a crosser off a little boot action. You're going to see him catch the ball away from his body, bounce off DBs. Like, that's what you want. And even after the second and third contact, he's still falling forward and spinning forward, trying to get yards after the catch. That's really what you want to see. I appreciate how he fights, like every down is his last, to get extra yards. It's going to come in handy for the 49ers. Here's a look from the end zone angle. It's a much better view, actually, to see safety get a running start, and then boom, he delivers the blow. So how about that? Not even knowing where this player is coming from, he's still able to be aware enough to deliver the blow, gets right upfield. So no east and west, no retreating. He just catches the ball and instantly, on contact, goes north. Love that. All right, another free access throw, top of the screen here. We're going to get an opportunity to see Stribling fight after the catch. Just get vertical right away. Ball is a little tall. Doesn't matter. He's tall. He can catch, make passes, take care of passes that are outside of his frame. But the first defender doesn't really have a chance here. And I think that was kind of surprising to see over the course of watching Stribling, where just on the last play I showed, he evades the first tackler a lot more than you'd expect. And this is a playoff. This is a team that was the runners-up. So the fact that he's having this kind of success, and this is about midway through the game, is pretty telling to me. I think that's another trait that's transferable, that's being sold, that he's not getting enough credit. So being able to make a guy miss and still fighting for contact, or fighting for yards after the contact, it's going to translate. Hey, if this is your first introduction to me, please like the video, comment, subscribe. I'm going to try to knock out as many of these 49ers prospects as I can. We have plenty of time, and I just got back in town, so been a little busy, but do enjoy football enough to get a load and just break down, where just love talking about these players and what to expect. So if there's any two-play sequence, I should say, where we're trying to get a glimpse of what the 49ers can expect from Stribling, it's these two plays right here. So again, we're going to start with bottom of the screen, free access curl, second down. He turns it second and 4, 5, 6 into a first down, free access out route. And instead of running out of bounds, what does he do? He fights for extra yards. Like, that matters. That has to matter at the NFL level. So nothing fancy here. Could have easily ran out of bounds, but elected not to because that's just not in his blood. That tells me fierce competitor, right? Like, wants nothing to do with taking the easy way out. Very next play, what do they ask him to do? Okay, man, thanks for the first down. Now we're going to need you to be a tight end. So he's to the bottom of the screen as a Y off, and he's going to be asked to come across the formation and block a first-round defensive end. When I was talking about how Kyle Juszczyk's job sucked, Stribling, welcome to the NFL, because he's probably going to have to do a lot of these things if the 49ers are going to want to live in 11 personnel or to have matchup advantages with Stribling on the field. Not every play is going to be fun. He's going to have to take on blockers like this. So Stribling versus Bane win, but who cares about the result? The fact that he's willing to do this, the fact that he runs into Bane full speed without bracing for anything, does his job, man. NFL coaches have to love that demeanor right there. All right, so bottom of the screen, another downfield target for Stribling. He gets a little hole shot here on a fade, so it's cover 2 to the bottom of the screen. Almost hauls it in, but the ball comes out at the very last minute. So these are 50-50 balls. He's not going to win everything, but I've showed you 3, I believe, and this was the first one he did not catch. Again, the fact that he's in a position to make the play is what we're really focusing on. So another opportunity to make one, and then just can't hold on at the end, till the end. All right, so this is the last play of the game, essentially. So 11 seconds left. Bottom of the screen, Stribling. He could make this a lot easier on himself if he just stems inside right away. But another example where he has more time than he thinks. So if he wants to take that outside release, he still has enough time because he's fast enough, because he covers enough ground to come back inside like this. So this is a prime example of that catch rate over expectation stat. So his was 10%, which again is upper tier in this class. One of the best, in fact. The fact that he's able to make these kind of grabs away from his body, over the middle, when there are different colored jerseys around him, when again the probability says he should not be making these catches, is a sign that I think he's going to win through contact in ways that some of the other wide receivers in this draft did not show that they could at the college level, but people are expecting them to do that in the NFL. That's not how things work, which is why I'm higher than Stribling. So that's all I want to show you. I think you can get a good glimpse from these plays that I've shown of what we can see, what we can expect from Stribling on the 49ers. He's going to be able to do a lot of the things, if not everything, that Jauan Jennings did. It might take him a little time to get acclimated and, I guess, insert himself in the demon ways that Jauan Jennings did, but he's going to have every opportunity. Ideally, everybody stays healthy so you can kind of bring Stribling along slowly and you can use him in many different roles. I think that will be the case, but I think you can use him on the field in 12 personnel, so 2 tight ends, and he's the big wide receiver with Mike Evans. I think you can use him in the slot. You can use him in the backfield as a lead blocker and get matchup advantages where he can come out of the backside on those slide routes and use that speed. And then, of course, crossers, right? So anything over the middle, he showed the ability, very incredibly fearless when it's time to take on, anybody on the other side of the formation, ready to get a lick on him, ready to get a clean shot on a defenseless wide receiver. So a lot to like, enough things to clean up where you can understand why most teams didn't have him as a first rounder, but to take him where they did, I thought there was a lot of plays, man, especially in this draft where some of the wide receivers who I felt like were being propped up, I don't think they're going to pan out. I think if there was a landing spot that you wanted this player to go to, it was a team like the 49ers. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. That is all for Stribling, and I will be back with Ramel Height at some point over the next week or so. So again, like, subscribe, comment if there's anybody else that you want me to get to before Height. But I'm a fan of Stribling. I had him wide receiver 6 behind, I believe it was, I had in order, I had Carnell Tate, I had Chris Bell, injury, I had Jordan Tyson, I had, who's 4. Denzel Boston, who the 49ers didn't take, but the difference in athleticism of speed and usage, I should say, you could understand why the 49ers elected to go away from Boston and add a guy who's a little more dynamic in Stribling. And then I had Casey Concepcion above Stribling, but I like Stribling more than Lemon. I like Stribling more than Omar Cooper. I thought he was in a tier above those guys. So it'd be interesting to see how this all plays out. I have an opportunity to look either really dumb or really smart. Stribling's in a situation where he has an opportunity to flourish, and that's what you want to see, right? Guys land in situations where they're going to be used in ways where their strengths are utilized, and I think that's what the 49ers have with Stribling. So I'm rooting for him, man. I don't want to say my reputation's on the line here, but I thought pretty highly of him, and it's nice that a team agreed, and it just so happens to be the 49ers.